Well, in a series of interviews we're doing here in the Faroes at the Renewable Energy Conference, and it's been fascinating because in this series we're hearing about places around the world. Obviously the Faroes is amazing, and Eckard, you've been involved here on the wind turbine side. You just sat through the presentation from David from the Isle of Man, and were you surprised that where we are, the Isle of Man, is literally has nothing yet, really?
Yes, a little bit I was surprised, I have to say, because I think the resources should be there. I've never been to the Isle of Man, so to be honest I have no clue, but I know where it is, and there's wind for sure. And I'm wondering, why is it not going forward at all on the Isle of Man, even though there's the potential? It sounded to me like the people locally say, well, it has been very comfortable the last 100 years, it has been working fine, so why should we change anything? I think we are facing climate change. We see this every week in Germany and elsewhere. Fires are burning in Spain while there are floods in Italy, and there are ways to change this. And 10 years ago, when the company I'm working for started here negotiations with the system operator SEF on the Faroe Islands, there were lots of questions. How should we make it? How could it work? How can we avoid that the grid collapses and things like this? It was a long list of discussions, and there are still open questions, certainly. But they started somewhere. They started building the first wind farm, which was relatively small for the island size, and it worked. And they gained experience. They learned with that. And then they built the next bigger one, and so on. Step by step, they increased. But they had a political commitment from this government here of the Faroe Islands, which is absolutely fundamental, I think, to say we want to be 100% renewable in the year, I don't recall exactly. This political commitment is the basis so that the system operator felt the commitment as well. Okay, we, the power system operator, we have to do something to comply with this political commitment of the people who have voted here, the government. And this is where it started. And then the engineers can work and develop solutions and so on and go step by step. It's not that this is changing necessarily overnight, everything. It takes decades.
And that's it. This commitment was made, and that drives everything forward. And you saw David's thing, there was a lot of negativity from people. Probably, I think we were probably quite safe while gas was cheap. I think that's probably been the problem.
Exactly, yeah. This was the problem all over the world, including Germany also. We lived on very cheap gas for a long time, and our governments have been sleeping for decades, I would say. And now we are suffering from this. I'm working in a renewable since 30 years. I'm convinced that this is the future and we have to go that way. Cheap gas is hindering any such change. So I'm looking forward to gas being more expensive. Very sorry for that. This is the only way to make us change.
Well, it's probably incredible, and you've seen it yourself. The Isle of Man is a windy place. I mean, it's just crying out. Let's talk about it. There was 10 years ago talk about Dong putting some stuff out at sea. The UK has got it out at sea. We can see it from the Isle of Man. And yet here we are still talking about it. It's a commitment issue, isn't it?
Yes, political commitment, then the utility that runs and is responsible for the system, for the electrical power system, has to do this commitment, but it's also a question of the local commitment of the people. If they feel responsible for something else than their today's life. I mean, people in the Isle of Man have kids as well. I'm doing this for my son, more or less my job, to ensure that he can still live on this planet in 50 years from now.
Well, you have to come to the Isle of Man, and we'd like to see you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be there. I mean, these discussions about wind turbines being ugly or being too small to supply the entire island and so on, we had this in every country, no matter where in the world. This is the starting point, yes, but please, nevertheless, they are at the beginning too small to supply the entire island, yes, but nevertheless, we can start building the first PV and the first wind and so on and go. Learn step by step, and also learn acceptance. Nowadays, my perception from Central Europe is the people are used to see wind turbines. The people get used to see huge PV plants all over the place. The sheep are under the PV plants. It's still agricultural use in a certain way. So the acceptance is also growing with the examples that we have. 30 years ago, the opposition was very similar to what I heard today from Dave about the people. No, I don't like it. Let's go on the same way. In parts of Central Europe, we managed to change a little bit the mindset. It takes a long time, so we better start now.